Okay. The next topic would be while loop. Now, what is a while loop? I hope you all can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So in the initial time when we started loops, I told there are two kinds of loops, right? One is
While loop.
definite or
Definite and
indefinite,
indefinite, sir. Indefinite.
right? So definite loop example I told it is a for loop, which means at the time of starting the loop, you know how many iterations. Meaning so far whenever we have written a for loop, we always said for I in range of
Range.
10. So you always gave how many loops it would take, right? How many iterations it will take. So you always gave a number, yeah, for I in range of 10 and so on. Now, you definite loop as in you already know how many times it will loop. Okay. Now, indefinite loop means example is while loop. Okay. Now, the difference is like, let us say a certain PT sir of yours, you go late to certain coaching. So he would ask you to like, take 10 rounds of the ground. So what would you do? You take the 10 rounds of a ground. So that is like a definite. You already know how many rounds you are going to take. Okay. Now, instead, if your sir tells you like, run until I come back. Run, he is going out and he's saying run until I come back. Now, do you know at what time he'll come back? Your condition would be like if sir back in ground equals to true, only then you stop running. Otherwise, you keep running. So at certain conditions, you have two conditions here, right? One, one, he says like, take 10 rounds of a ground. You know, okay, I have to take 10 rounds. Okay. Now another kind of punishment he can give you is run until I come back. Okay, here you don't know. He can come back by the time you take 1 round, 2 rounds, or 100 rounds. You don't know, right? We don't know. And and this sort of loop is called while loop. When you don't know how many iterations, how many times you have to loop ahead of time. At the time of the starting of the loop, you don't know how many times you have to loop. But all you know is it has to loop. It has to take several iterations. Okay. But if it keeps on looping, it needs to have a stop point, right? It at certain point in time, it has to stop. And here in the example, when will you stop? When you see your sir back in the ground, right? Only then you will stop. So here in the while loop is also same thing. While loop is an indefinite loop, which means the number of iterations are not known before. But the loop has to stop on meeting certain base condition, So what is a while loop? While loop is a indefinite loop, which means that is the number of iterations, the number of iterations are not known before starting of loop, are not known before starting of loop. Okay. The looping stops on a condition, right? On a condition. or looping stops. Okay, let me write it other way. If the looping stops once the condition is met to stop. Okay, condition is met to stop. This condition is called base condition. This condition is called base condition or termination condition. Okay. Okay. So if at all, if our base condition, if we don't write a base condition, what will happen? If we don't have our condition, what will happen? Let us say
Loop
you
will continue.
loop will continue.
Continue.
Let us say you sir who gave your punishment, he is like never coming back. So what will happen? Right? So you will be running. So that becomes a infinite loop. If the base condition is not met, right? It will lead to infinite loop. It will lead to infinite loop. Okay, we should never, whenever we are writing a while loop, it should never go to infinite loop. It should always terminate on a particular condition. It should always terminate on a particular condition. It should never go to a while loop. Okay, are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear, sir.
Yes.
Okay. How do I write a while loop? The syntax would be like this. So we will use the keyword called while. Okay. Then write your expression. So this is your base condition. This expression is your base condition. As far as this expression is true, your loop continues. Your loop continues. If this expression written false, your loop stops. Your loop stops. And within that, you take this 4 spaces. What is this 4 spaces called?
Indentation.
Right.
Indentation space.
Within this, you write your statements. Okay. Now you see this while and then you write your expression. This expression should result in a boolean, either true or false. If it is true, the loop continues. If it is false, loop stops. What do we mean by that? Every time it tries to loop, it checks this expression. Every time it loops, it checks this expression. For example, a simple program here. I want to print hello world 5 times. I want to print hello world 5 times using a while loop. We want to print hello world 5 times using a while loop. So what do I say? I equals to 1. Okay. What will I say? While I is less than 5. Okay, then I'll start I with 0. While I is less than 5, right? Print hello world. Okay. And what would I say? So this will tell me what happens now. So first time, let me just write the output here. First, what is my I value? 0. Is 0 less than 5?
Yeah, true.
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 Hello world. It prints. Okay, this is first iteration done. Now the second iteration it goes. It again checks. Is I less than 5? I is still 0, right? I is still 0. Did we change I value anywhere?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So what happens? It will again, I is still less than 5. Okay, fine. It will go print hello world again. Again, the third iteration. Is I less than 5? What is the I
Yes, sir.
value?
0.
0. So what happens here? Though you have your base condition is never meeting because you're not changing the I value, which leads to what? This leads to infinite loop. Because it will never stop. It will keep on continuing because you are not changing the I value and you are expecting I value to be less than 5 here. And when will this loop stop? Whenever your I value reaches 5 or whenever your I value reaches 5, that is when it is going to stop. But you are not changing the I value. And which means your I value will always be 0. And this loop runs until the I value is less than 5. So if we don't modify the I value, what happens to this loop? This leads to infinite loop. This leads to infinite loop. Are we clear?
Clear, sir.
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now what will I do here? I is equal to I plus 1. Now tell me what happens. In the first iteration, I value is 0. Now 0 is less than 5, which means true. So this loop continues. What will it do? It prints hello world and initially I value was 0. Okay. Now it prints hello world. Done. Now what are we changing the I value to? I is equal to I plus 1, which
1.
means the I value is now
1.
0
I
0 plus 1, 1.
plus 1.
1, right? Now what is my condition? 1 is less than 5. True or false?
True, sir.
True, sir.
True. This will take one more iteration. It will print hello world again. Okay. And what are we doing here? I is equal to I plus 1. What was I earlier?
1.
1 plus 1 is
2.
2.
2.
2.
Now 2 less than 5.
Yeah,
True.
true, sir.
It is true.
True.
True, sir.
Then it will go one more iteration. It will print hello world again. Now here what are we doing? I is equal to I plus 1.
2 plus
It will
1,
become
2.
3.
It
2
is
plus
3,
1 is
sir.
3. Right? Now 3 less than 5.
True.
Yeah, it is true.
True. It will go. It will take one more iteration. It will print hello world again. Done. And what are we doing here? I is equal to I plus 1. 3 plus 1 is 4.
4.
Again 4 is less than 5. True.
True.
Then it will print hello world again. And now again what are we doing? We are changing the I value to I is equal to I plus 1, which is 4 plus 1 is equal to 5.
5.
Now what happens? Here 5 less than 5. True or false?
False.
It
False.
is false,
Now
sir.
this is your termination condition. This is your termination condition. So what happens here? I less than or equal to 5, which returns false, which means your loop terminated here. It will no more execute. It will no more execute these statements. Your loop is
Stops.
stopped or terminated. Are we clear?
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, clear, sir.
Right. So now you have to have a clear difference between the for loop and a while loop. In the for loop, you are giving how many times it has to loop when before starting the loop, 10 times, 5 times, 2 times, and so on. Here you are not giving how many times it has to loop. It will loop as far as the base condition is true, and once the base condition is false, it is going to terminate. Okay, so now tell me what will happen here. What does input function do?
Yeah, it will take the input.
Right, it will take user Input. Done. And what are we checking here? Until as it is not equal to quit,
Not
user
equal to
input
quit.
is not equal to quit, then means I want to execute the statements in the loop, right? So let us say user enters for the first time. Let us say he enters hello, right? And is hello not equal to quit, true or false? True, right? Hello is not equal to quit, right? Which means it will execute this. Loop is executing. Then second time, let us say he enters hi. Obviously, it is not equal to quit, right? Which means the statement is true. Then it will execute. Loop is executing. Then let us say he enters quit. Not equal to quit. True or false?
False.
Right? It is false. They are equal, but when I say not equal to, it says false, which means it will not go further into this loop anymore. It will stop the execution, and that's it. The code will flow further. So what is the next statement after the while loop? It is this print loop got terminated. So this gets printed, and that's it. So it prints loop is executing, and the third is quit, and then hence it says loop got terminated. Are we clear?